Are all for Allah, Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this I am commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and do confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thee. And lead away from me to evil and indecent morals, for none can lead away to evil and indecent morals but thee. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make we the true followers of Muhammad successful. Here in the wilderness of North America, as thou did make Abraham and the true followers of Abraham, for sure thou art praised and magnified. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless we the true followers of Muhammad. Here in the wilderness of North America, as thou did bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham, for sure thou art praised and magnified in our midst forever. Ameen. You may be seated. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises is due, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and if we were to live to be 1,000, we can never thank Allah enough for giving to us, the black man and woman of America specifically, and to all of humanity in general, a leader, a teacher, and a guide in the person of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank Allah and we thank His Christ for giving to us a reminder and a comforter to help guide us and remind us to the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that is the one who will be with us shortly to speak to you this afternoon, and that is, of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Yes, and in their names, brothers and sisters, I greet all of you in the nation's greeting words of peace, of Assalamu alaikum. For those of you who do not know what that term means, it's Arabic, but translated in English it simply means peace be unto you. Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. On behalf of Minister Yusuf Muhammad, who is the local representative of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in the city of Springfield, I'd like to welcome you from the various cities to our new mosque, and we thank you for making this weekend an overwhelming success. We thank you very much. You know, as I was told that I could speak for a few moments, I asked a few of my brothers, what would you say if you had the opportunity to speak before the Honorable Louis Farrakhan? One brother said, well, I would just say prayer over and over until he came on. Another brother said, brother, I don't even know. And then another brother said, well, brother, just speak from the heart. And I think that's a perfect place to begin, with the heart. You know, according to the Bible in the Old Testament, when it was time for the children of Israel to have a leader, God sent his prophet to Jesse. Jesse had sons. Some of them were very tall, very handsome. And as Jesse brought each of his sons before the prophet was supposed to get a sign to know which one would be the leader for Almighty God Allah. And the tall, very handsome ones, when they came before the prophet, he didn't get the sign, and then when all of the sons came by him, he asked Jesse, is that all you got? And Jesse said, well, I got one more, but he's out tending the sheep. And he said, well, go get him. And that's when he brought David. David, not as tall as the others. David, not as handsome as the others. But when David was brought before the prophet got the sign and said, that's the one. David had a heart like unto God. And it was the heart that separated David from the other sons. David had courage overwhelmingly. He had so much courage that when Goliath was boasting and intimidating the children of Israel, when everyone else was afraid of Goliath. David said, I'll go. Yeah. And his brother said, no, you don't want to go and face him. He said, I'm going. Go ahead, brother. And they said, well, if you're going to go, take some weapons with you. You know, dress yourself up in armor. David said, I don't need none of that. And he went down to the brook and got 5 smooth stones. And he used just one of them to defeat an enemy that was 4 times his size, his weight. And he used the stones represent truth. David was a man not afraid to speak truth. And so when brother said, speak from the heart, this is what came to me, and I thought of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. His heart is different from yours and mine. His heart is different from every black leader in America. He has a heart of courage. And he is not afraid to speak truth to this big, bold, vicious enemy of our people. And coupled with courage, David had love. And it is this quality of the heart that distinguished him from every other. It was love, and really courage was born out of love for the people. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan has love for you and I, and out of his love for you and I comes his courage. That gives him the courage enough to stand up and face and back down the enemies of you and I that have kept us in ignorance for over 400 years. I'm not going to take any more time. I would like for you to hear from some of the other representatives of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. Coming to the rostrum next is Brother James X from Rochester, New York. Could you please receive our brother with a warm round of applause? Assalamu alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises I do forever. We thank him over and over again for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide in the person of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I could never thank him enough for raising up in our midst today and leaving in our midst today a divine leader, teacher, and a guide in the person of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in the name of these worthy servants of God, I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Well, brothers and sisters, I guess I feel the same way as my brother before me. You know, when you're given this great opportunity to have a few words to say to the people of God concerning the time that we're living in, and to represent such a great leader in our midst today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And you know, you roll around some thoughts in your mind on what could you say, what should you say, what is the best thing to say. But as our brother said, the best thing to say is to speak from the heart. Is that right? But it shouldn't take a lot to come up with something to say today. Is that right? Because we have the boldest, baddest black leader in America, and all we have to do is bear witness to the work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Is that right? Our job as a people now is to back the man of God that is in our midst today. Is that right? All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah, brothers and sisters. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is teaching us as men that it's time that we stand up in America. Is that right? It's time that we stop shucking and jiving and walking timid in America today. It's time that we make big, bold stands like Brother Yusuf has made in Springfield, Massachusetts, by bringing the believers and the community together to open up Muhammad's Mosque number 13 and Unity Mall. So give yourself a round of applause, black man and woman. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sir, I don't want to appear arrogant or proud, but hell, I wait for times like this. We should prepare ourselves for times like this. Is that right? because we're going to be called to account for what we believe and what we stand for. So when we follow a bold black leader like Farrakhan, we got to be willing to go out on the front line at all times and any time that the call is given. So black man, it's time that we gear up our loins, is that right? And get prepared to be a part of that 1 in a million that goes marching into Washington, D.C. when our leader sounds the call in October. We want every black man from Springfield to be there. We want every sister to be sympathizing with that march, because that is truly the Day of Atonement. Is that right? All praise is due to Allah. You know, we have to try to give thanks to everyone and appreciation to everyone. But we know that this could not be possible if the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did not have great helpers in his midst to help him in this mission. If he did not have men and women who love him and love his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as he is trying to show us to love each other, that we wouldn't be able to do this today. So there's a brother who has been working on the East Coast for, I believe, 30 to 40 years, helping the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Do you know who that man is? Well, that man, if you don't know him, that man is the Eastern Coast Regional Minister, Minister Don Muhammad. So let's give Minister Don Muhammad a round of applause for guiding us young ministers and counseling us. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. And of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us to show respect for those who went before us. He has taught us that we should respect our elders, that we should have a counseling board set up in the mosque or wherever we have an organization with the elders who are present among us. Because we may think we know. We may get a little big-headed, is that right? We may think that we know what to do, but we're really blind to a lot of things that we should be doing. We're working in a big field of ignorance today, and we need all the vision that we can be given to help us to deal with this wise enemy called the Caucasian. Is that right? We know that our open enemy is the government of America. We know that our open enemy has been white people and their misuse and abuse of black people in America. But we, with our little really peanut brains, we can't deal with this wise man. This man is so wise. He studied nature. He studied the high sciences, and he knows what makes you tick, what desire to put in you and to lead you in a direction that you don't even understand. That's why we need God to be in this process. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stated in that beautiful article entitled The 1 Million Man March, he said, God must do what he has done in the beginning of time. He must declare his process in the remaking of the black man all over again in humanity. So we must recognize that this is the work of God taking place in America. And we could not do this without the help of Almighty God, Allah. We have to move with caution. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at Malcolm X College, he said that a leader must be courageous, but a leader must also be wise. Huh? You can't be just courageous and want to go liberate your people without being wise. Because if you're not wise in how you manipulate and maneuver the movement, then you can get killed. Is that right? But you have to move not according to your desires, but according to the vision and the desires of God for the people. So we have a man like that in our midst today. And this is why everything that we attempt to do in the honorable, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we never fail, huh? We are always successful. So when I see this beautiful mosque, when you first lay eyes on it, you know, you get a little your heart flutter a little bit. You're a study group leader trying to become minister of a mosque. No jealousy come up in you, don't it, brother? I don't know about you, but that's part of our nature, isn't it? When you see someone else accomplishing something, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that it's part of your nature that a little jealousy come up in you. That a little, you want what your brother have achieved. Is that right? He said there's nothing wrong with that. He said, but you got to put it in check, huh? He said you got to check that. But when you see your brother advancing, know that you will be advancing soon, huh? All praises due to Allah. Allahu Akbar. He said what we feel is pain when we see someone else receive praise, when we see someone else receive honor. Why? Why do you feel pain? It's because the God in you is calling out that I want to be somebody. I can achieve something. I can do something. I love my brother, but I got to show my beauty. And that's the problem with the black man today. You're crushed today. You're not given the opportunity to show the God-given talent and the gift that he has put in you. But thank God today. Thank Allah who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, that he has left men in our midst that's calling you today, black man, and giving you a chance today, black man, as he gave Brother Yusuf Muhammad a chance. So in my conclusion, I'm thankful, and I want to try and show my thanks and appreciation each day that I live, not just by words. Is that right? But Jesus said, these are they who are nigh unto me with their lips, but their hearts are far removed from me. You know, we just can't talk the talk, but we got to walk the walk. When Farrakhan calls for our backing with our resources and our talent, we got to answer the call. Is that right? So I want to try to show my thanks and my appreciation by helping the man of God in our midst to work and help bring about a reality for black people. So brothers and sisters, when I first came on the post about 3 years ago, I was so scared, so nervous about, can I really do this job? Can I become a minister? Can I lead black people in Rochester, New York? And we were at a laborers meeting in Chicago, and the messenger's son, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son, Minister Ishmael Muhammad, he was coordinating the laborers meeting. And he's a young minister, is that right? He's a beautiful brother, huh? He's a good example for us as young men. And after the laborers meeting, you know, I would have questions, and he would tell me, brother, you can do it. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. I said, brother minister Ishmael, how old are you? And he told me, I believe at that time it was like 27, 28. I said, I can do this. I'm 26. I'm 27. If he can do it, I can do it. And it gave me courage. Is that right? So, brothers and sisters, let us all be happy and joyful as the supreme wisdom says, work cheerfully and fear not. You are the righteous, the powerful. Let us go ahead and take our communities back and take what is rightfully ours. Thank you all for listening and giving me a few minutes of your time. I leave you as I came with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's give brother another round of applause. We have another strong representative from as a representative of the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. The brother is from Buffalo. Yes. Brother is from Buffalo. Please receive our brother minister from Buffalo with a warm round of applause. Assalamu alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the great God who was to come and has come to seek and to save that which was lost, and to raise among us a divine leader, teacher, and guide in the person of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I never met him before, but I had the honor and the privilege of meeting a man who's really taught me all that I know, the example of the man I hope to become, a man who's been my friend, my advisor, my counselor, and my spiritual father, a man who is really rocking the foundation of America, and if truth be told, he's rocking the foundation of the world. The boldest, the strongest, the most courageous black man I've ever met before, and I'm speaking of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. It's in the names I greet you, my beloved sisters and brothers, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And how are you all feeling today? Good. I'm feeling fine myself. I feel honored and I feel humbled to be a part of the Nation of Islam. You know, there are certain times when you have to reflect on where God has taken you, where you've come, and where you are right now, and hopefully, if God pleases, where you hope to be. And sometimes you go through peaks and valleys. There are times when you feel very high and you feel very strong and productive, and you feel as if you can take on the world. And there are times when you feel very insignificant and very humbled and very weak, and you know, there are times when you feel like you can't fight your way out of a paper bag. But there are times when I'm in the nation when, even though I recognize that this has been the most arduous task that I've ever been involved with. I'm not an old man, obviously, and I didn't come to the nation looking for a post. I came to the nation because I heard a black man say or speak a word that I had never heard before. And I responded to that word. I responded to that message. And I had no idea that I would be involved in this capacity. And if I did, I probably would have run as far away as east is from west. Because the tremendous responsibility of attempting to serve black people is difficult, beloved. Our people are hard-hearted, stiff-necked, and rebellious. And you have to love them more than they hate themselves. But if I didn't have a brother who had humility and tremendous love for our people, I would be a killer of our people rather than be one who's attempting to help them and to serve them. You know, my brother, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, whenever I speak, sometimes, you know, I wonder what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. But as I think it was Brother James, Brother Darrell made the point that they both did, to always speak what comes from your heart. Always speak what you really feel. And I guess in a couple of minutes I have, you know, I just want to give my little personal testimony and testament. You know, I came in the nation in 1982. And I came not really conscious that I was looking for a God. I came as an atheist. I didn't even believe in God. And when I heard the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, I remember in the beginning, when I would hear his lectures, I would love when he talked about black folk, and I would love when he would talk about white folk. But when he would talk about God, and he would talk about the messenger of God, and talk about divine, I didn't want to hear that. I just didn't want to hear that. I would tune out and go someplace else, and when the black talk came again, I would tune back in, and I would be into that. And if someone had told me that I would be one day a person who would be teaching the Word of God, I would have thought they would have been crazy. Because I remember when I was young, I couldn't, and this is for my Christian brothers and sisters, I'm not trying to make mockery, I'm not trying to belittle what your faith is or our collective faith is, but I didn't like the church. Wasn't into the church. I remember there would be times on Sunday mornings and my mother and my family would be sleeping, and I would be up on Sunday, and I would never wake them up because I never wanted to go to church. I wanted to make sure that I stayed home and did whatever I was going to do, but I wasn't into church. I couldn't get into that faith expression. And it wasn't until I heard the Honorable Minister Farrakhan that I heard a man speaking God the way I'd never heard God speak before. Preaching God the way I'd never heard God preach before. And when I heard that man speak, I said to myself, I want to be a minister. I didn't make a public pronouncement. I didn't tell anyone else. This was my own personal testimony, my own personal acknowledgement. I said, I want to be like him. I had seen other people trying to be strong, and I thought they were strong. I thought Jesse Jackson was a bad brother. I saw other black leaders who I thought were bad brothers, but once I saw the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan, so I saw a bad black man. a bold black man, a courageous black man. And every single black man, every single one of us wants to be strong. We don't want to be weak, we want to be strong. The enemy made us weak, but every one of us has an innate desire to be strong, to be productive, to be a man, to be respected by our family and our friends. Every single one of us is. And when I saw the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan, I never heard of him before. I had never seen him before. His name wasn't familiar to me at all. But when I heard him, though, literally tingles would go down my back. He would make a point here, make a point there, and I was totally overwhelmed. I know my friends had never heard of the Nation of Islam, or if they had, they never told me about it. I know they haven't heard of Minister Farrakhan, because if they did, they never told me about it. And I just knew when I would play the tapes that I would expect them to respond like me. And when I would play the tapes and whatnot, and the minister would hit this bad point, and they would just sit there like they were cows, I would begin to wonder what is going on. And then it dawned on me at a certain point that I believe I don't know what I'll be like tomorrow. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we can all turn hypocrite overnight, but I believe for today I was born for this day.
Yes, sir.
I believe for this day I was born to follow this man.
Yes, sir.
I believe for this hour I was born to back this black man.
Yes, sir.
I believe for this hour I was born to help him make history for us.
Yes,
I believe for this minute, beloved, that's a part of my purpose. When I see the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan today, I see a brother who's not like other leaders. Other leaders, I mean, there are some who I believe are sincere, and there are some who I don't, in my own limited, perspective, I don't think they're all that sincere. But the thing in my judgment that separates the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan from others is his supreme love for black people and the supreme courage and the supreme fearlessness that he exhibits for our people. And I'm reminded on Savior's Day, and I'm reminded on his speech after the Chicago Tribune articles, and I'm reminded after his lecture in Springfield, Massachusetts, that we're dealing with a brother who's not ordinary. We're dealing with a black man who's not self-sent. We're not dealing with a black man who one day stood up and said, I want to be a leader of black people. We're dealing with a man who's been sent by God to do a mission for our people. All praise is due to Allah. The Bible asks the question, who is able to make war with the beast? There are some people who want to do it. There are some people who have the desire to do it. There are some people who would like to do it. But the Bible asks the question, who is able to make war with the beast? Who has got the skill? Who has got the capacity? Who has got the wisdom? Who has got the wherewithal? Who can deal and make war with the beast, man? There's a brother. All praise to Allah. There's a brother raised among us. We know sometimes we watch these little, shows, these talk shows, and see people try to represent black folk who don't have the wherewithal to do it. They don't have the skill. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the courage. They try to circumvent the truth and speak diplomatically, not to offend the enemy. But we got a brother who speaks plainly and boldly to administer justice. Here's a black man who got the Jews upset with him, the government upset with him, Arabs upset with him, Negroes upset with him, the government, everyone upset with Farrakhan, but he don't give a damn because God is backing the black man. All praise is due to Allah. All praise to the Lord. Aren't we tired of cowards? Aren't we tired of those who want to kowtow and bow down and be apologetic toward the oppressor? Do we want someone bold and fearless? Do we want someone to stand up for us? We have an obligation to back that man. We have an obligation to help the man. He doesn't need murmuring and backbiting, envy and jealousy and contention and strife. He needs a united black nation, a united black people. He's a man raised from among us. So in my conclusion, Master Farad Muhammad told us in Supreme Wisdom that the following is the original rules of instruction to the laborers in Islam and the title of Muslim, given by our Savior before his departure, with a footnote of a few words of explanation to lay pressure upon their minds of their many errors in the past and present, that they may see the light and walk therein. The following is the original rules of instruction. And so the following on one level can mean that which precedes, that which comes after something. But the following also means that the act of following somebody, the act of patterning your life after someone. And so the following becomes the original rules of instruction. Jesus says to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. So the following is the original rules of instruction. In the Roman, it said the following questions must be answered 100% before submittance of students. It said lesson number 1. We all got questions, man, that prevent us from following correctly. But the following questions must be answered 100%. You got problems, man, in following divine leadership. But you got to answer those questions before you can submit to lesson number 1, Master Farad Muhammad. If we don't answer these questions, answer the questions that block us from proper discipleship, we will never be the kind of nation we should be. So by the grace of God, we are the best nation. We are the best nation raised up for men. We believe in Allah. We enjoying good, and we forbid evil. So with that said, my dear beloved brothers and sisters, my mouth is cotton dry. I would talk. I'm not going to kill myself, so I'm going to sit down. I thank you all again. Assalamu alaikum.
Somebody get me a fire extinguisher. It's on fire up here. Assalamu alaikum. Come on, let's give it up for brother one more time. Next to come to the rostrum is the minister for Muhammad's Mosque number 14, 20 minutes up the road from Springfield, Massachusetts. He's a strong, bold brother. I've known brother for a few years now, and like myself, I've seen him grow and develop, and he's becoming one of the most powerful ministers for the Nation of Islam. Please receive Minister Naeem Muhammad with a warm round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we thank Allah over and over again for intervening in our affairs in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And we thank him for raising and teaching and training the long-awaited Messiah of the Christian world and the Messiah of the Muslim world. And we thank him over and over and over again for giving to us our beloved leader, teacher, and guide, the man that taught me what I know and is giving me the example of the man that I wish to become, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you on behalf of those great, great men and worthy servants of Allah with the greeting words of peace once again. Assalamu alaikum. How's everybody doing? All praises due to Allah. Boy, it's going to be difficult, Brother Donald, to come behind those words. When you hear words like that, you need to just sit down and shut up. But I told Brother Minister Yusuf I would have a few words to say. You know, brothers and sisters, I just want to reflect on a few words that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said to us all, but in particularly a couple of words that he said to myself. One day we were in Baltimore, Maryland, listening and supporting our leader, teacher, and guide, Minister Farrakhan, and he was talking about the writings and the sayings of Paul. And with the admiration that I have for him and my knowledge of his place in Scripture, I said to him, "Go ahead, Paul." And he looked back at me and he said, "Don't call me no Paul. Paul was a sign of me. Don't call me this one and that one of the Bible." He said, "I'm not a crazy man.
That's right.
I'm not trying to be what they are." He said, "But they are a sign of himself." That thing stuck with me for years now. Those very words that he said, that you know how we admire David and Joseph and Jesus and Muhammad and all of the great prophets that came before you. But could you imagine, could you just fathom the fact that they were just a sign pointing to one that would be coming greater down the road? And we know that one is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But when he left us in 1975, I heard the Honorable Louis Farrakhan say to us that he died a long time ago. And so the voice that we hear, the wisdom that we hear, the heart that we feel from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is not the mind, is not the spirit of Farrakhan, but is the spirit of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself. Those words reached down so deep into my fiber that it has caused me to stop so much looking up to others and to start following the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and looking into myself and finding the God in myself and recognizing the God in everyone else. He said to us in our self-improvement study lesson, he said that the prophets that came before us were like moonlight. They were reflections of God. They were not God in person, but they were just a reflection of God. And so we've had Jesus of 2,000 years ago, and the Christians and the Muslims honor Jesus of 2,000 years ago, and we've had the Bible for a long time. But look at the black community. Look hard at the black community. We've had churches on every corner, but our condition worsens. So there's something wrong with our interpretation of the Bible. If they just represented moonlight, but it is said to us by Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad that God would come in person. So we were taught and we believe that God came to us in the person of a human being, a real live man, a human being, and his name is Master Farad Muhammad. Now, all praise is due to Allah. The prophets predicted the end of the world. The prophets predicted that God would come. At the end, the prophets gave us warning. They gave us guidance. They tried to get us back on the right path. Moses did this. Muhammad did this. Jesus did this. But apparently, they were prophets that were predicting a time that would come at the end of the world where not a prophet would be raised, but God himself would be raised in the minds and the hearts of a dead people. Y'all aren't listening to me. You don't think that God is in you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when you look at the black man and when you look at the black woman, you're looking at God. And so we know we are in the end of the world, and we are inside the very fall of America that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has warned us will not go past the year 2004. Is that right? Yes, sir. So, if we're living in that time, what should we expect? When we look at Farrakhan and listen to Farrakhan, what are you really listening to? Are you just listening to a man with a good word? Are you just looking to a great leader? Or are you looking for and listening for the voice of God? himself in person, in a real live man, a human being. All praise is due to Allah. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan would certainly say that it is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that is being made into God today. I want to say this in my closing. We were studying at the mosque in Hartford a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the fact that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad left the scene in 1975, not died. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not dead, but he is physically alive. But that he left the scene in 1975. Well, we were taught that in the beginning of our rise, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farad Muhammad met together day in and day out, night and day, for approximately 3.5 years. And in that time, the God in person, Master Farad Muhammad, was able to feed the spirit of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and to give him instructions that would take the nation of Islam into the new world order. Well, if he did what he did in 3.5 years, and we believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad left in 1975 and has been with Master Farad Muhammad for the last 20 years, how much knowledge does the Christ have now? How much wisdom does the Messiah have now? Who is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad now? And what will he be when he returns? The power that is backing Minister Louis Farrakhan is unknown to anyone that has ever seen anywhere on the planet. Oh, y'all ain't listening to me. We're talking about the power that upholds the universe. We're not just talking about prophet knowledge. We're talking about the fact that God is going to use the brains of men and women today. You black man and woman that have come out to hear the teaching today, when you leave here today after hearing our apostle of God, when you leave here today, you will no longer just look at yourself as a human being. We're all, hey, I'm just one person. What can I do? I support you all, but hey, I'm just one person. God is just one person. And he came by himself in 1930, and look at the fruits of his labor now. I thank you so much for listening. May Allah bless you. As I greet you in peace, Assalamu alaikum.
Let's give Minister Naeem another round. Come on. And of course, coming next to the rostrum is the Nation of Islam's representative in New York City, Minister Conrad Muhammad. Please give him a warm round of applause. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the divine person of Master Farad Muhammad, and we forever thank him, and we could never thank him enough for raising in the midst of the black man and woman here in the wilderness of North America a divine leader, a divine teacher, and a divine guide in the person of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the man that we know today as not only a messenger, but the exalted Christ. And we could certainly not thank Allah and that exalted Christ enough for giving to us in this day and time a man who is prepared, a man who is shaped, a man who is seasoned through the divine circumstances and through the divine appointments and through the divine inspiration of Almighty God Allah and his messenger. And that man that I speak of is none other than the man that you've heard so much about already this afternoon, and the man that you will hear more about this afternoon, God's divine reminder, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, brothers and sisters, I greet you as the other ministers before me greeted you with the holy greetings of peace and paradise. In the Arabic language, we say, Salam alaikum. Let's give all the ministers that came up earlier a warm and well-deserved hand. We are privileged, brothers and sisters, and honored to be here on this afternoon. We have so many dignitaries in the house, and we are very happy to see every one of them. We have seated right in front of me one of the great pioneers of the Nation of Islam, my former minister, Minister Ishaq Muhammad from Springfield, Massachusetts, and Hartford, Connecticut. A great man. We have from the city of New York, Mosque number 7, the great trainer of the Sisters of Islam that was taught and trained directly by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, our sister captain Amina Rasul Muhammad. We're always happy to see a giant. We have all of our regional laborers from the Eastern Regional Headquarters in Boston, Massachusetts, Minister Don Muhammad and Sister Secretary Virginia Muhammad. They are in the house. And we also have our dignitaries from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan staff from Chicago. Let us give Sister Sophia a hand. Wonderful to see her. And Sister Arifa, let's give them a hand. But most of all, brothers and sisters, give yourselves a hand for being here and being black and being with Farrakhan today. You should always applaud yourself. Whenever you come to Muhammad Mosque of Islam, you should applaud yourself because you have the good sense, the good knowledge, the good wisdom, the good mother's wit to come to that place that was erected by Almighty God Allah to be a house of salvation for the black man. So every time you walk through these doors, recognize that you have made a good decision, a wise decision that will lead to freedom, justice, and equality, not only for yourself, but for your brothers and sisters as well. We are thankful to Allah to be in Springfield after our leader and teacher shook up the city. Springfield has not seen a man teaching such a gospel in many a day. Is that right or wrong? Springfield will never be the same. Is that right or wrong? Springfield right now, after yesterday, and particularly the black people in Springfield, have been placed on a course that if they enter into the process and remain in the process of self-reformation, of self-inspiration, of doing for self, of loving self, of aiding self. We won't have ghetto anymore in Springfield, but we will have black community. We won't have crime anymore in Springfield, but we will have black-on-black love. We won't have black men disrespecting black women and black women being hateful and disdainful of black men, but we will have a black family coming together in unity like we have never seen before. The scripture says that God is not the author of confusion, but is the author of peace. Whenever God's man comes into your midst, and I make no apology for calling the Honorable Louis Farrakhan God's man. If God can go to Jerusalem, he can come to New Jersey. If God can go to Damascus, all of these far-off, distant places in the east, and you and I have never been over the East River, then God can come to you and me. God can come to the ghetto. God can come to Detroit, and he did come to Detroit July the 4th, 1930, to raise the black man up in the person of a man. All praise is due to Allah. God would not leave us alone. You mean he would go to the Jew and the Gentile, but he would leave the black man and woman alone? Has God stopped raising messengers? Has God stopped inspiring men? No. And in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he most surely raised up a messenger. Most of us in this room today were too young or too dumb to follow him. Most of us. Some of these older believers had the good sense to hear and obey. But if you miss the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if you miss his time amongst us, you have not missed him, because as Brother Minister said, when you look at the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, you are not looking at a priesthood that is different than the priesthood of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You are looking at a man who is furthering the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if you miss Elijah, get with Farrakhan and you will be the winner. All praise is due to Allah. I'm happy to be with Farrakhan. I'm proud to be with him, because I don't know a man doing more for black people. I don't know a man more brave than Farrakhan. I don't know a man more fearless than Farrakhan. I don't know a man that has more love and compassion for the black man. Everybody stepped over us. Everybody neglected us. Everybody considered us nothing. But the question is asked, can any good come from Nazareth? The question today is, can good come from Springfield? I think it can, because Farrakhan has shown through his minister, Yusuf Muhammad, that good is abundant in this community of black people. So we thank Allah for you. And we thank Allah for the day that we are living in. We have read about Jesus. And many people in the scripture said that if they could just touch the hem of his garment, they would be spiritually fulfilled. We've read about Moses. Moses was a great civilizer. Oh, well, it's time for me to sit down, because the man that we're speaking about is here. We don't have to talk about him anymore. He's here. Farrakhan is here. So now, let me present to you the minister that is shaking up Springfield, the bold, bright, young minister that is helping the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in Springfield, Brother Minister Yusuf Muhammad, who will introduce our leader and teacher. All praise is due to Allah.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and I bear witness that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. In their names, I would like to greet all of you, my beloved brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. Are you ready to hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? Well, you know me, I have nothing to say when he's here. Let's stand and let's receive our leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
you see that commercial, Budweiser? In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. We thank Allah, and we can never thank Him enough for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide, the messenger of Allah, the Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. Salam alaikum. I'm very, very happy and thankful to Allah to be in Springfield. I'm very, very happy and thankful to Allah to be in Springfield and to be a party to and a witness of the dedication of Mosque number 13.
We're happy to have you.
I'm very, very happy to be in your midst and to see and be a part of the great work of our brother and Minister Yusuf and all of the believers here at Mosque number 13. It is a great feeling, brothers and sisters, to be a father and to have inspired a son. And to see a son grow up to take the word that he received from his father to do great things. It would make any father proud. Each of us who are fathers, who are blessed to have sons and daughters, want to see our children do great things. Although today many of us are disappointed because our children somehow are not doing the great things that we hoped. If you have many children and one or two do great things, you feel very fortunate. But should God bless you to have many children to do great things, you are indeed a very blessed human being. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the man whom we represent to you, is a man that God blessed with many physical children. And it was his hope and his great desire that his children would carry on his work. It is grievous to him that of the 8 children that he bore his wife, Sister Clara Muhammad, unfortunately, none of them carried on his great work. But out of Massachusetts, a son was given to him. And I remember when my mother visited with him in Chicago, as she was about to leave, he said, "I pray that God will bless you with a long life. Thank you for giving me such a wonderful son." She got a little upset because she was thinking physical. And she didn't understand what he was talking about. But she later understood, it wasn't much later, that he meant a spiritual son. To have a son from your loins to do great things is a wonderful, wonderful blessing. To have a son from your spirit to do great things is an even greater blessing. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad produced a son from his spirit. And I am so grateful that I am blessed not only to have sons from my loins who are helping me in this great work, but to stand in this house and know that a son of my spirit and love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the God that he represents has been produced. That makes me very, very happy. As I walked through this building earlier and saw the work of the believers, brothers and sisters, who pooled their resources, made a sacrifice, and made this house a worthy place to hear the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is just a beginning. You shall always remember this place because it is your first little home. It's not yet the home that Allah has in mind for you. But if you are faithful over little things, God will absolutely one day make you ruler over much. It is my fervent prayer and hope that God will protect Minister Yusuf and keep him on the straight path. And it is my fervent hope that those of you who have come out of the world to believe in Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that you will stay strong and firm, because Black America is coming this way. So I don't know where you would go if you go back from this path when everyone is moving in this direction. It'll be so soon that you won't be able to tell who is a quote-unquote Muslim from the Christian.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Because so many Christian pastors are studying the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and in their magnificent edifices, they are teaching his word. So many Christian pastors are asking for the training of the FOI and the MGT. And many of the brothers are in the church training our Christian brothers how to be the strong men of God in Christ in the church. Some may not understand. They may think that, why would you want to leave them in the church? Why wouldn't you want to bring them into the mosque? There is but one mosque, and that is the earth. And there is but one dome over that mosque, and that is the sky. And there is but one floor to that mosque, and that is 57,255,000 square miles of land. So whatever house you're in doesn't really make any difference as long as we are of one mind in whatever house we are in. I thought I should like to talk to you for just a few minutes on the duty that God has imposed on every creature. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that God has imposed on every creature the duty to do something for itself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And any creature in this creation that is not doing for itself cannot justify its existence.
Yes, sir. That's right.
The eagle will build her nest, and she won't have the little ones laying around long.
Yes, sir. That's right.
At a certain point, she'll turn the nest over.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You either fly or die. And if you can't fly, you ought to die.
Right.
You know, nature teaches us all kinds of lessons.
Listen.
Some of us as parents want to keep our children under our wing forever. Some of us as parents feel so good that all our children are home. And some of them are 40 and more.
Think about it.
And we are so happy all my children are home. You need to turn your nest over and let them either fly or die, because God has imposed on every creature the duty to do something for itself. And if you take the tiniest insect to the largest of God's creation, you don't find them borrowing. I don't ever see a bird. Could you lend me one of your worms? I just happened to run out, and my baby is hungry. Could you just loan me a worm or two? Just don't work that way. You want a worm, go get them. They're out there. You either fly or die. Get up and do something for yourself. Isn't that a wonderful thing that the God has done? Even a leech got to do something for itself. Just find somebody to suck on. That's really something. So when you look at our little world called Earth and the many, many creatures, they all get for themselves things that don't have the ability, excuse me, to think. Instinct makes them do for self. Go on down in the depth of the sea. Yes, sir. And see all the creatures doing for self. Go look at the planets. They're all one family. From Mercury, the nearest planet to the sun, to Pluto or Platoon, the furthest planet from the sun, they are spaced so many millions of miles from each other till it just can't borrow. Send me over a cup of rain. And the other planet will say, baby, get it for yourself.
That's right. Yes.
Every planet dependent on one sun, but dependent on itself, yet in the family of planets, but not a burden on any member in the family.
Not a burden.
Not a burden. What kind of family you got? What kind of family do I have? What kind of family are we producing? Children that look to parents. Children that borrow from one another. Kid, you got any toothpaste? I'm out. You got a hair net or hair? They say you're wrong for that, Brother Fester. But you know, when you lay on each other, you damage relationships. When you get for yourself, you demonstrate your willingness to be a participant in nature's demands. And nature will reward you for doing something for yourself. But to lean on your neighbor, be a bum and a beggar, is a disgrace to you as a thinking human being when an amoeba will do for itself. And you can think, what is your problem?
Come on. Yes, sir. Yes.
Always going downtown.
Come on, leader. Teach.
Begging for something for uptown. Always going cross town. Begging for something for your part of town. When everything you need to operate is right there with you. You got to get up and do for self.
Yes, sir.
The American white man is more and more angry every day
Yes, sir.
at a group of begging Negroes.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Running around with placards in their hand. Gimme, gimme, gimme. But refusing to do something for self. This disgraceful leadership, the begging, borrowing leadership, begging somebody else for what we could do for ourselves. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in raising us up, told us that the Creator, God in person, came to put us on the road to self. And that if we would get up and desire to do for self, he would help us.
That's right.
If we determine today that we are going to help ourselves, you have the help of God. But if you determine today that you're going to borrow and beg and lay at the foot of somebody else, then you not only don't have the help of God, but he will cause you to be destroyed, because he came to put you on the road to self. So, this work of Minister Yusuf and the believers of Mosque number 13 is a step in the right direction, doing for self. A Unity Mall. I want you to check it out. Beautiful earrings and beautiful things that the artists and craftsmen have made. For what? Because they want to do for self. So when you go by and you see their shops, that's somebody that's interested in not looking for a job, but creating a job.
Yes. That's right.
By sufficing a need in the community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Doing for self gets you the help of God. The way the brother has set this place up, it's a great blessing to the believers. Many might have thought, oh, he's a pipe dreamer. It's not going to happen.
Teach on that.
But here it is.
Yes,
And you'll be moving out from here in many different directions, giving an example of not church, but an example of what church is supposed to be about. Church never was intended for people to come and sing and shout and give money and go back home and wait till next Sunday. Church was established so that people could come and feed from the Word of God, that they may go out into a world that is adverse and wicked and overcome the negative forces in the world to establish righteous principles.
Yes, yes, sir.
So I thought that I should just lay that before us, because the Nation of Islam, under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has embarked on a very ambitious program to do for self, and we know that God is with us.
Yes, sir.
Good, leader. Go.
Yes, sir, dear Pastor.
And therefore there's no sense in aiming low. If you just think cheap, you can't represent God. You got to aim high and step high. So this year, if it's the will of Allah, and we believe it is,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
the Nation of Islam is building in Chicago that which black folk have never seen before.
Right. Right.
You may say, why Chicago? Why not Springfield? I don't live in no Chicago. Yeah, you got that right, but have you ever been to Washington?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You don't live in Washington.
That's right.
But out of all your dollars,
Right.
something is going to build your capital.
Right. That's right.
And when you drive in Washington and see the buildings that are federal buildings, meaning they're owned by the total population of the country, with the exception, of course, of the one that prints the money. Chicago, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, will be the capital of Islam in the Western Hemisphere. Well, you think about what that means. As you look at Islam as it spread all over the world, look at how Islam grew in the Middle East, in Africa, in Asia. I understand that the Chinese have named Islam as the indigenous religion of China, because the man who built the Forbidden City was a Muslim, and their ancient recollection is Islam.
Yes.
Now, all of the magnificent cities of Islam in the world, the magnificent mosques and structures of Islam in the world, when it came to the Atlantic Ocean, there was no Islam in the Western Hemisphere at all, by design. The white folk who fought against Islam,
Yes, sir.
did not want any of the religious message of Islam in the Western Hemisphere.
That's right. That's right.
So Master Farad Muhammad brought it in a magnificent way and gave us a magnificent methodology to establish Islam. And he made Chicago the capital.
Yes, sir. That's right.
I just happen to live there, though I'm not from Chicago. I was brought to Chicago, and it was very great that that happened.
Yes, sir.
And now I can't leave because I have to be about the business
Yes, sir.
of building the capital city of Islam in the Western world. Now, your responsibility is to help me build for you
Yes, sir.
and help me build for our people that which will live long after we are dead and gone.
Come on, wake us up.
This beautiful work of Minister Yusuf and the believers is an inspiration to all of the young Muslims
Yes, sir.
to go home and build. In New York City, after the fall, here the nation moving up again in New York. Soon in Buffalo, in Hartford. What city are you in, brother? Rochester. That's not the partner of Jack Benny, is it? Rochester. Boston. Building anew now. Yes, sir. And everyone is inspired by what the little nation of Islam is beginning to do. By the end of this year, if it's the will of Allah, we hope to have our first 10,000 acres of land. On our way to the first 1 million acres. But our goal is on 50 million acres of land. Well, what you need 50 million acres for? See, black folk don't even think like that. If we had a little 4-acre plot, this is great stuff. What this crazy Farrakhan talking about? 50 million acres. I just want you to see. Broaden your horizon. Don't be satisfied with nothing. After 400 years of evil and injustice, we can't let the white man off the hook by giving us a white woman. They say, well, let's give the niggas $20,000 per family. And some of you would be so happy. That's right. Man, shut up, Farrakhan. Don't talk no more. Get that 20,000. Let's get out of here. Yeah. And all the white boy would do was go back in the back room and print some more money that ain't backed by nothing. Go ahead. And get a nigga 20,000. And what you gonna do with it? You be right back. See that car? I've been wanting that car. How much it cost? Oh hell. Car cost 40,000. Now I got to go borrow. What you gonna do with your 20,000? And tomorrow morning, all the money will be right back in white folks' hands again. That's right. So when Brother Farrakhan asked for reparation, he ain't talking about giving every family no $20,000. Because a fool and his money will soon part. And my people are too foolish. When I get some sense in their head, then okay. But right now, they're too silly. Don't give a silly people money. Now tell me I'm wrong for even thinking like that. The white man would be right there at the door, waiting to take it back. And at the end of a few days, you wouldn't have anything. Think about that. But let's talk about 50 million acres of land as a beginning. That still ain't paid. Think about what you could do with 50 million acres of land with trees on it. Some lakes and rivers on it. You could farm.
Yes, sir.
And some of you so silly, you ran off the farm. You know how you did it. And you don't want nothing to do with a farm again. Wrong.
Right.
The farm is the engine of our life. Without the farm, you're nothing. The only problem is the farmer in America has been disrespected. But without the farmer, America don't have anything.
Right.
Others are rich, but the farmer is poor. We're going to turn that around. If the farmer is the engine of our life, then if the life is rich, then the farmer is going to be rich too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're going back to the earth.
Yes, sir.
Everything you got on, including yourself, comes from the earth. Everything you need to sustain your life comes from the earth. So the more earth you have, and the more knowledge you have of what to do with the earth, you can build an independent existence for yourself and your people, because God demands that you got to get up now and do something for yourself. Now in closing, oh yes. Oh yes. 3 hours last night. I don't intend to do that again. The time went by so fast, I didn't even realize we were working 3 hours. But I don't intend to work you or me that long today. But in my conclusion, I wanted to close with this word. No matter what you build of physical structures that are magnificent and beautiful, that is not what Jesus, the Christ, is desirous of. Now, if you owned all of the beautiful buildings in Springfield and you strutted down the street saying how sweet it is, you might not yet be pleasing to God. Now, Jesus, as he walked among the people, never sent his disciples out to build one church. Now, I want you to just think about that with me. He didn't say, Peter, hang up your fishing pole. I want you to go build me a church. What did he say? He said, come follow me, and I will make you a fisher of men. Well, what was Jesus after? He wasn't after buildings. Everywhere you saw him, according to Scripture, he was teaching. Sometime in the synagogue, sometimes by the Sea of Galilee, sometime on this hill, sometime on that mount, sometime under this tree, but he never was talking about building a church. Never. Never. So when you and I get the concept of religion, that religion is only valuable if we can somehow build an imposing, magnificent structure, and then say that we are dedicating this to the worship of God And somehow or another, we marvel in the structure. And that feeds our ego and our vanity. And we say, look what we have done. I just want to caution you about vanity and foolishness.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because this is not worth nothing. If you don't really see the purpose.
Good, good, yes, sir.
I don't want you to get off track and confused, thinking that physical structures is what God wants you to build.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's not where it's at.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all its righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. But our problem is we're seeking all the things before we seek the kingdom and its righteousness. Now we got to reverse this. Listen. We have to reverse this. Because you could have all of this and be turned down by Christ on his return. So it don't make no difference now. I mean, look at what I did. See? I got all these buildings. You say, yeah, but I'm going to burn all these buildings and you in them. Because you got the wrong message. The message I wanted you all to get was that Satan has had the world and its buildings in his grip for 6,000 years. Satan has had humanity in his grip for 6,000 years. I don't come to build buildings.
Yes, sir. Come on.
I come bringing a word. For in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. And all things were created by him and by that word. Now you think about that one. See, so the God that came to us in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, he came with a word. Yes, he didn't come with no building, did he? No, and he didn't leave a building.
Right. No, right.
After 3.5 years, he left a man and he left a word. Yes. Now, if he was interested solely in buildings, he would have left you one. Yeah. But he left you a man. Yes. Now, what did he leave you a man for? Come on. What kind of man did he leave? What kind of work did he get involved in to make a man in 3.5 years and leave him here? He taught him night and day for 3 years and 4 months. What did he teach him? He taught him actual facts about the heavens and the earth. He taught him about the nature of God and the reality of God and devil. He taught him the time and what must be done. He taught him into the nature of all things and left him here. Because he knew if you make a man out of the word of God, then that man will create a world filled with things made by the word and made by him. But first, you got to have a man. So, if you are interested in building little cheap buildings rather than building strong men and women, you got the wrong idea. You're not with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Mr. Warren? You sure? Just want to be sure.
That's right. That's right.
Now, all of this can be considered vanity if you don't build men. Do you follow what I'm saying? Yes, sir. How you gonna build a man and not a woman? Right. When Jesus made a man, the next thing was a woman. In fact, the woman produced him. Because things are going to pass away. But when you make a righteous man and a righteous woman, they're going to make righteous children to inhabit a righteous world. You see what I'm saying? So the real object of our coming together is not to build buildings. That's going to come. But the object of our coming together is to build men and women of righteous character. That's what Jesus was all about. And if you don't understand that, you can't claim Jesus. You can walk into the most magnificent cathedral and say, whoa, look at this. Come on. They got gold on the walls, baby. But maybe Jesus ain't in there. See, it's not about what building you have. It's about what character you have. Are you in a new building with an old mentality? Hellraisers in the house of God? See, it ain't about that. Jesus said, or Paul said, we become new creatures in Christ. That's the whole object, brother. To let the word touch you. Since the word was with God and the word is God, then the word has force and power to recreate you or remake you in the image of the word. You know, brothers and sisters, it really is a wonderful thing to see so many people love an individual. I mean, everywhere I go, to feel the love of the people, for me, is quite overwhelming. And if I got carried away with that, I would be all messed up in the head. It's not about me personally, But what you're falling in love with, you don't even know. It ain't a suit.
That's right.
It ain't a face that shines.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's not the waves in the hair.
That's right.
It ain't the alligator shoes. Or the beautiful smile.
That's right.
It ain't none of that.
That's right. That's right.
You know what it is? See, it's a word that is becoming flesh. It is a man being recreated anew by a transforming word. And the immense beauty that you feel from the man is not the man, but it is the word in the man of immense beauty.
Yes, sir.
That shines through the man and touches the beauty in you. And you become overwhelmed by the beauty of the man, but it's not the man, it's the word. And the word was with God. And so the beauty of God is what you're falling in love with. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That word does not belong to me. It belongs to God, and he's giving it to all of us so that the word may recreate us anew, and we will be as beautiful as the word and as beautiful as God. When Farrakhan is in the spirit of the word, you can't tell how old I am. You can't see age. Because the word and the God is ageless.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah. Create a clock, a new one. Or throw the clock away. And the clock ain't for God. They ain't never seen no clock on God. He watching a clock. God is time. So you need, and we need, to look beyond what you think you see.
Yes, sir.
You need to really look beneath the veil and understand what you are looking at. You see? So you don't get carried away with physical things and miss the spiritual value of the physical thing that you're looking at. So, Minister Yusuf, and all my wonderful young ministers, and all of you, my wonderful brothers and sisters, the object of Christ is to transform human life and to turn common men and women into reflections of God. That's the mission. Not buildings. Turn men and women into reflections of God. After that work is done, then men and women can say be. And whatever you say be to, it will be. But first, you and I have to be remade in the image of the Word that came with God and was God and is God. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So may Allah bless you, Minister Yusuf. Continue to bless you.
Yes, sir.
Continue to bless your wife and the believers through you. Keep up the good work. Don't get happy over little, lest you get satisfied. Keep going. But when you keep going building things, keep going building yourself and the righteous character. And when you get knocked down and a trial afflicts you, because it's not easy to work with people, come on up from your trial. Brush yourself off. And remember that the Word is recreating you anew. So I leave you saying how much I thank Allah for all the experiences of my life. I thank Him certainly for the good times. But I thank Him equally for all of the bad times that really weren't bad at all. They were producing character in me. I have a teacher who loved me so much that he didn't spare me at all. They say, he whom the Lord loves, he chastens much. I never understood that. But when I look at the way he tried me, it really is something. The way he maneuvered things, really such a wise teacher. He would praise me to create jealousy. And then focus the envy of my own brothers on me, where they would talk about me like a dog. And then he'd sit back like a scientist and watch to see how I handled it. An innocent little lamb growing up among some wolves. And every one of them had sharp teeth, brother. Teeth. And when he wasn't looking, they'd take a bite. And one day I got tired of it. And I said, I'm going to Chicago and I'm going to have it out with these people who are talking about me so bad. But like a child, I was going to fight my brothers in the presence of my father, in case it got out of hand. Daddy could step in and save me. And just as I was warming up for the fight, he looked at me and he hit the table. And he said, brother, seek refuge in Allah from the envier when he envies. And he got up and he walked out of the room. When he walked out of the room, he took my stick out of my hand. And he let those words stick with me a little bit. And in about 3 to 5 minutes, he came back and sat down. Naturally, I was warming up for the fight, had thrown the first few blows. People was ducking, dodging. Then he hit the table and walked out. So quiet was in the room. And when he walked back in, he sat down and he looked at me and he said these words. He said, brother, when you have a piece of board that you're going to put in the corner of the building to uphold the weight of the building, you have to put a lot of stress on that board. And if it breaks under the stress, then you know that's not the board you were looking for. You throw it away and you get you another one. Yes, sir. And he just looked at me. I said, yes, sir. Have you ever seen a cow sometimes that you talk to? And the cow will look at you and you swear that the cow understood. Because in his eyes you see so much sympathy for what you think. And when you look back, the cow say, moo. Well, I said, yes, sir, but I really didn't understand fully what he was trying to tell me. Yes, sir. But he was telling me so much, and I'm going to leave you with this. Said, look, Farrakhan, I'm about to put you at the corner of the building. You're going to be a precious cornerstone. But in order for me to make you the cornerstone, I got to try you. Because you're going to have to hold up the weight of the building when I'm gone. So he used a board. He said, you got to put stress on it. See, the board that was before me was Malcolm. Malcolm couldn't get a free ride and be the leader of all black people and the leader of the Nation of Islam in the absence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm, like any student in the class of a sensei or master, had to be stressed and brought to the brink of breaking and then taken beyond this threshold of pain. Yes, sir. Because when you're making something, you got to bring pain to it.
Yeah. Go ahead, brother. Teach.
That's how men are made. You don't make a real man by avoiding pain or a real woman by avoiding pain any more than you can make a child by avoiding pain. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pain is the accompaniment of progress.
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
So before there was a Farrakhan, there was a Malcolm. Yes. And the envy and jealousy of the brothers was created by Malcolm's own ability, which far outdistanced the ability of many of the ministers. All of the ministers, most of them. And the messenger just focused their envy on Malcolm. Why, Elijah? Why would you do that to your prize student? Don't you love him? He said, yes, I love him, but I love the nation. And I can't leave the wrong piece of board in the corner, so I got to put stress on Malcolm. Yes, sir. So I can see what's in the man. Because if he can't handle the envy of a few Negroes inside the house? How will he handle the envy of a people when he ascends to power? I can say with truth that I never was envious of Malcolm X. Never did I want Malcolm's position. Not one time in my life did I ever think in terms of bringing somebody down to get myself up. And anybody who thinks like that is unfit for any high calling.
That's right. Good.
He put stress on Malcolm. The pressure on the inside of the nation was great. And in truth, Malcolm broke under that pressure. How do you know he broke?
Listen.
Once Malcolm learned of Elijah Muhammad's wives, not wife, wives, and children, he either had to understand it and deal with it,
Yes, sir.
which he did understand,
Yes, sir.
and I know that he understood because I had that conversation with him.
Yes.
But he became vindictive against his master and teacher that made him who and what he was.
Teach, yes.
He took what he knew of his teacher's life
Yes, sir.
and put it before the world to hurt his teacher. He gave the enemy of his teacher some stick
Think about it.
that the enemy could beat his teacher with.
Think about it.
He broke. He didn't understand what Elijah was doing for him by what Elijah was doing to him. So when my poor brother was assassinated, they tell me that in Phoenix, Arizona, they had on a tape and I was on the tape. And as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad walked by the room, he said, that one is going to be greater than Malcolm. And he said to my face, you could never do to me what Malcolm did. Because it just ain't in me. I've never been a vindictive man. If I were, I would have killed all my enemies. And many of you would be dead now. I suffered from the mouths of my own brothers. Their evil and slander. Plotting against my life. But there's not one of you that I have ever instructed to do harm to one person who has attempted to do harm to me. So when my father said, I put stress on the board, and if it broke under the stress, I know it's not the board I'm looking for. And now look, my father said to me, everything that Malcolm wanted will come to you. I didn't know what he wanted, but whatever it was, he knew it, and he said it would come to me. It would come to me, why? Because I'm better. It will come to me because the quality of my heart is the right quality for any man who would redeem and reconcile a people with God and with one another.
Yes, sir.
So it ain't about building.
No, sir.
Go ahead.
It's about making men and women with a new heart of love for one another. That your love is long-suffering. And you can take pain and rejection and hurt and slander and yet rise above it to become a master. For 11 years, the white media has beat the hell out of Farrakhan.
That's right.
Talk about me like a dog.
That's right.
And some of these scared to death Negroes to curry the favor of the enemy.
That's right.
You write your filth,
Yeah.
put it in the newspaper, talking about a man who never did nothing but good for his people.
That's right.
Some of my own brothers who claim to work with me don't understand the moves that I make. So behind my back, there's backbiting. But I don't pay it no attention. I keep on going down the road. Huh?
That's right.
Because I know that I should not respond to those kinds of cheap things. The white man wonders, how's he standing up? The Jews have melted Mr. Ford. He bowed down and begged. The Jews have wilted the Pope. Cardinal Bernardine over in Jerusalem saying they had nothing to do with the murder of Jesus. Well, what is the Bible, a lie? These cowardly preachers afraid to preach what is written in the book. So I take the slings and the arrows of all of them. The government plotting, the IRS plotting, the FBI, the ADL, the CIA, all on one man. But the man ain't wilting, the man is standing firm. Because my father, though he built many buildings, was really concerned with making a man that he could leave in his absence to carry on his work. And so, in all the building that we do, that is secondary, and it must never take priority to building the character of men and women rooted in faith in God and the creative force of his word and the love of the people. May Allah bless you to make men and women, and then all the buildings will never have to be destroyed by an angry God, because corrupt and wicked men and women inhabit the buildings. Thank you for listening. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.